And we're live! Apparently, I'm just going to stall a little bit because sometimes there's quite a bit of a lag. Hello and welcome to WWE NXT Halloween Havoc review here on WrestlingHeadlines.net. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and once again, it's that time. Well, I say once again, it's that time. Finally, tables, ladders, and scares! The spooky show screams and spins back into life. It's Halloween Havoc once again in 2020. And James, better brace for what's to come later. when I start referencing Shotzi's lines later in the show. But yeah, so this was here on YouTube for Wrestling Headlines and will be available in podcast form later. Most people watch this afterwards, so it's not really that much of an issue. So, yeah. Anyway, Halloween Havoc. I've got a whole paragraph written with no transition to it, if you could sense the stuttering to it. Just two different notes. Metal, spooky spook, Franken Shotzi, grinding sparks, Damien Priest with a live, heavy performance, a Halloween Havoc with Triple H written all over it. This is his Halloween Havoc. You even kick it off with Johnny Gargano slicing a inflatable pumpkin. It's like, this isn't that kind of Halloween. This is a 40-year-old man's Halloween. Yeah. Anyway, I'm joined once again by James Boyd of One Nation Radio and Social Suplex. How are you doing, James?
I'm good. I actually just finished watching the show probably like a half hour ago, so I kind of fresh in the mind. I really like the show. Is there some goofiness in it? Oh, you betcha. There is a worst match of the year contender on this show. But even outside of that, I thought this was a good show.
Yeah, it was a.
I'm good.
Yeah, it was a really, I can't speak. It was a really, really good show, I think I'd say. It had the wackiness in there. It had the wrestling goofiness that some people complain when there's any goofiness in wrestling. I'm like, it's wrestling? That you're watching the wrong thing if you don't like goofiness or cheesiness or things like that. And but it also had fantastic wrestling, especially the bookended stuff. Ripley versus Gonzalez as well. A big hoss. Yes. Their version of Ishii Shingo is two massive forces just throw clotheslines at each other. And there was a bit of fun in between as well. And whatever... We'll get to Grimes Loomis, which I'm sure you loved. We'll get to that later. But as I've named this episode Tables, Ladders, and I've put it in capital letters, so I have to do it every time. And scares! We have to do that match last. Hopefully James never watches this back and sees the hand movement I'm doing with and scares. I'm going over the top with it. But Shotzi Blackheart was there in her third outfit of the night. I think she was Devil Shotzi at this point. In all red, she spanned the wheel. It would not surprise me if she already owned all of the outfits we saw her in tonight. She's that kind of cat. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. But the NXT Women's Championship, she spanned the wheel to make the deal, and she got tables, ladders, and scares for that one. I was like, because I looked at the debates beforehand, where it was like, what does the S stand for? It's WWE. Probably just be stairs. And then I was like, I'd love it if it was Shotzi, tables, ladders, and Shotzi. It's a triple threat. I loved that idea. But for it to be scares, it's like, well, what does scares mean? We'll find out in a second what scares meant. But yeah, first of all, overall, what did you make of the match? I guess in a broader way. What do you make of the main event?
I loved it. I thought they beat the crap out of each other. I thought the violence escalated between them. I thought that I don't know which match is better between this match or the Sasha and Bayley match from last weekend. Me personally, I prefer this match because I don't have the weird narrative of, as we talked about on Twitter, about like this one chair has to be the chair that we, like there's none of that goofiness in the way. So like, and quite honestly, I think, some of the stuff they did, and some of the callbacks to their history together with the suplex onto the open chair, I thought that was a nice touch. I did like the selling inside of that match, so I really enjoyed the match. I love that match. I also, the person in the Ghostface mask from Scream, that was absolutely Indy Hartwell, correct?
Oh, 100%. 100% Indy
Okay.
Hartwell, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
For me, it was 100% when Shotzi Blackheart hit a move. I was like, that's why in the men's one there was no move hit on the person, because it's a female in WWE. You don't have man on female, and but you have it the other way round. So when Io Shirai hit the move, I was like, well, it can't be anyone else unless Johnny Gargano has his own Indy Hartwell, found his own friend, and that's what if. I was trying to think who would be the friend if it's Johnny Gargano. Then I suddenly thought, well, Austin Theory quit last week. It could be him, but it was way too tall. I was like,
and also a couple weeks ago they fought each other because remember, going into the last takeover, Johnny asked him to, soften him up right before the title match, so for takeover, and then Priest beat both of them, so they ended up having a match between Gargano and Theory like the week after or 2 weeks after, because they were mad at each other because neither one of them accomplished the job. They won't get anything out of their little agreement. So after Johnny kicks his teeth in, I don't think he's gonna just come back. Obviously all he does is loses now as some type of punishment for the fact that he may be a child diddler. But I don't think that he's that much of a mark for pain. Or maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe it's part of the punishment. They make him that much of a sucker. I don't know.
Well, look at Matt Riddle. He's no longer called Matt. So yeah, he doesn't set the riddle. He is the riddle. That's what he is now. Yeah.
See, I have no idea what you're even talking about. But it sounds horrible.
Oh yeah, he's not called Matt Riddle anymore. He's just Riddle. Just Riddle.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was announced. Yeah, the news broke within the hour or so of us going live. So it's yeah. I mean, to do with news breaking within the hour. My world's had a bit of a bigger one with where I live at 1 minute past midnight. So about 35 minutes ago, we went into tier 3, aka we're pretty much in lockdown again. So it was quite low down my importance. So I was able to have it helped me laugh. It was useful. I got a laugh out of it at a time. I kind of needed it. So it was it's a weird one. And of course, obviously, Jim Carrey is all over the Twitter feed now because of the Riddler. So people just you're one step away. You're so close to just jumping into that pool. But to be fair, they can't get over the fact he doesn't wear shoes. He said just don't. Why are you focusing on it? Just don't mention it. You're making it weird. It wasn't. He got over on the Indies and no one gave a crap. But suddenly in WWE, he's like, shoes. Wear your shoes, and they've not shut up about it the entire time. Yeah, it's a weird one.
No one gave a crap about Rusev's feet when he was, when he first started out, and they were pushing him to, be the top monster for whichever big baby face, whether it be Cena or Roman, that was going to topple him at WrestleMania 31. So it's weird how Vince cares about feet now all of a sudden. I don't get it.
Yeah, I realised we got off on a tangent, but that it was another person loses their first name, and it's someone called Matt. It's not even a weird first name or a foreign first name we've seen before, or a foreign surname that we saw with Otis. It's no, he's all American, and it's still getting cut in half. What a weird one. Yeah. Anyway, so Io Shirai came out with a special Poppy entrance for Io. There's something about that pairing that just fits. And the next week, whenever they've done this, the next week when Io Shirai comes out with her normal music, it's Poppy's just works. It's just, the way that she goes down to the ring is just perfect for a Poppy. I was going to say, I'll say song. It's a bit too heavy for me, but the Poppy noise fits with the EO kind of action, and it feels the
aesthetic.
It all gels perfectly together.
Was this the second time or the third time?
It's definitely second or third. Not to not help you out at all with that, but yeah.
I can't remember if they had something at a takeover, but I know it was definitely the second time on or in Full Sail or the PC.
Yeah, and it just works. A perfect pairing, and it makes the match feel special as well. I can't remember why they did it the first time. Maybe it was take that AEW. You've not got a live performance or something like that.
I think. It was for the first episode. I think it was for the first episode of NXT on USA Network on September 18th of 2000, whatever it was, when they got a 2-week jump on Dynamite. So like, because the first match was it was a number one contender fatal 4-way. It was Bianca, Io, Candice, and I think Tegan. No, it was Mia. It wasn't Tegan. It was Mia. So yeah, that and the last person to come out was Io, and Candice ended up winning that match actually.
See, they've been feuding forever, but in a good way, not in a main roster way. It's not in a main roster as you're going with Drew Orton again, are you? Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's only been August is when it started, and we're in November now. But I mean, you've not reached Street Profits versus Garza and Andrade yet. You're not at that point yet.
Oh God.
You
remember Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler from 2018?
Oh yeah, where he's just continued all the way through. So yeah, that's well, it's again for me. It stood out a bit at the time, but now it really stands out now that there's AEW, where AEW they're doing long-term booking, but without them interacting every single week. Like Hangman versus Kenny Omega, they've built up a match without ever being in the same arena together. It just makes it all feel fresh. Like since they're split, not once have they been. Oh, I guess it's been on commentary if that counts, but they've not had a single interaction. I guess it's better way to put it. Yeah.
Like I think they probably did Cody and Darby 3 times or 4 times.
We counting? Well, one of them is pre-Dynamite.
Just singles.
So, yeah.
Just singles. Well, even the whole entire history of AEW, right? Like, you're right. That was before Dynamite. That was Fighter Fest. I think
one of the two. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't Fight for Fun. It was Fighter Fest. So it was like actually whatever. It was one of those two. One of those Clash of Champion ass shows. And like either had either 3 or 4 matches or whatever, and like that happened over what is now been over a year. Like it's fine. Like as opposed to Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins having some type of matching each other for 18 times in one quarter of a year is that's overkill.
Well, as I said,
you need to stop.
Like Orton McIntyre started in August, and this is going to be pay-per-view match number 5. Like never...
Wait, they're having another pay-per-view match?
Yeah, they're building to it now. As I say, it's one of the things that's not been announced. But at the end of Raw, Randy Orton goes and attacks Drew McIntyre. I was like, so you're going with that again? Okay, cool. I
thought there was a Fiend interaction.
So personally, I really like it as a Fiend interaction because Randy, again, we're on a massive tangent, but this is what we do. You've watched our shows before, people.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Be happy we're not talking about food or something. Well, at least on topic a bit. Should have heard us before we came live. Had to nip something in the bud. We could have never gone on. It's a topic about something else. But the Fiend kind of comes out and does his spooky spook, and Alexa's laughing all giggly, doing her spooky spook. Personally, it worked really well. But the story I like is the Fiend came down behind Randy Orton. Like Randy Orton walks up the ramp, and this is so he's behind him. He'll turn, and then there'll be an attack type of thing. But Randy Orton never turned. Instead, he didn't turn to the Fiend. He went back to Drew McIntyre, and then those two bored, and that's how the show ended. Story being, he didn't let the Fiend in, and I'm like, I like that actually. Where the whole thing's been about let me in, and then Randy was like, actually no, I'm not going to let you in. I've simplified it quite a tad by that ending sentence, but for me it's taking the same thing but going a different direction with it. Plus they can prolong it. Plus it's Survivor Series, the pay-per-view where all feuds suddenly have to go on hold. But if they do Drew McIntyre, they can do it again after Survivor Series. But at least there's a break. Don't run it again. I'm still going to be knackered of it. But if they do it after Survivor Series, that then means I do the Fiend afterwards. I can't remember how many pay-per-views there are. It's way too many. It's matches to fit the schedule, no matter if the feud's actually storyline finished. Like McIntyre Orton did, it finished with that ambulance match, but that's not what the pay-per-views dictate. The schedule means you've got to have Hell in a Cell next, even though your feud's finished. Cool. Okay then. Alright, yeah. And now we're doing Survivor Series 2 weeks after the brand split. After the draft. It's 2 weeks. It's I'm sure they've got such strong allegiance after they've been there for 2 weeks. AJ Styles is just so onto the red brand. It means so much to him. of his new home. It's like someone signing for a new team and like kissing the badge on the, kissing the emblem on the shirt and everything. So this club means everything to me in the like first game or something. So,
yeah, that is, that's been the issue for the last 2 years with the brand split. So like, I do enjoy the brand or the bragging rightsification of Survivor Series over the last last 5 editions. But the last 2 years with the draft being so close, it does cause a problem. Like 2016 didn't have that issue. Like they had the brand split in August, and by the time it rolled around, like that might be the last like kick-ass Survivor Series match with the men.
Yeah, it's been other matches. Like you got awesome matches. Was it Shield versus? Was it New Day?
Shield versus New Day in 2017. Yeah. That also had the AJ Styles and Brock match. Yeah.
Then we got Daniel Bryan and Brock. Then
the year after. Yeah. Yep, like literally on 5 days notice.
Then Rey Mysterio and Brock. Actually, they've done pretty good Brock matches at Survivor Series multiple years in a row.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, this year we get Roman versus Randy Orton. So they're doing heel versus heel, where it's I give them kudos because they've been saying for ages that there are no goodies or baddies. It's just characters. But then you look at all of their feuds and it's goodie versus baddie. But now we've got Hurt Business versus Retribution. It's heel versus heel. It's great stable versus absolutely awful stable. So I automatically treat one as the face. Obviously, I'm cheering the Hurt Business because it's a team of losers. 0-4. What a run. Retribution, well done. 0-4, amazing.
It's just like, we just got done watching G1, right? Like, or even NXT. Like, they'll have a Gargano versus Roddy Strong match from time to time. In the G1, you're going to see Minoru Suzuki versus Jay White. All you have to it's still, you still play the same dynamics, just like the heel that is less crappy or that the fans thinks is the cool heel. They'll just cheer them as the babyface and they'll go forward. So they'll boo Jay White. They'll cheer Suzuki. It's really simple.
Yeah.
Like I think people kind of get like they're going to do MJF versus Jericho. People are going to cheer for Jericho. It's fine.
Yeah. And even what we're seeing again at AEW as well with Kenny Omega, where people are saying we don't know what his character is. You're just used to storytelling that slaps you in the face with what it is. As in, Kenny Omega in WWE at this point has come out and said, these are my feelings on this issue. This is what I think about Hangman Page. And that's it. You've got it. But in AEW, they're doing storytelling you see in TV shows in different ways. As in actually taking their time to expand upon a story. You watch the character rather than hear. It's show don't tell. They're doing show don't tell.
Right.
They're doing what you're meant to be doing. They're just not used to it. Yeah.
And AEW is very good at it, except for like Young Bucks versus FTR. But that's the one time they haven't like done a good job with it that I can remember.
Yeah. I was trying to think. Suddenly remembered last year's men's Survivor Series match was actually quite good once it got to the final half of it, because it was NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. The first half was let's eliminate all these awesome NXT talents right off the bat.
Walter.
Walter. He just got absolutely jobbed out. I swear there was a second one as well. It might have been Matt Riddle.
Riddle pinned. Riddle eliminated Corbin, I think, and then Corbin hit, or was it? Oh, actually, he was celebrating after he upset Riddle, and then Orton like RKO'd him.
Oh, that was it, yes.
Or something like that, yeah.
My least favourite Survivor Series booking idea of you book someone to look strong for the next person to eliminate them and they look strong from eliminating them because then that next person's going to eliminate them as well. It's like, no one's building momentum here. He's just immediately eliminating people. They do it in like Battle Royals sometimes as well. Like someone will build up steam and then get eliminated and then he rinse and repeat. It's like, I don't care for any of these people. None of them have momentum. They've just been around.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like last year's Survivor Series, I really enjoyed. I mean, a lot of it's because I like NXT more than the main roster. So it's like, seeing Keith Lee versus Roman at the end, that was cool. The NXT title match with Cole and Dunn was awesome. The women's match with the interaction between Io and Kyrie was like, a little heartfelt for me as a stardom mark. So. But yeah, like I've really, like I said, you go through all of these last 5 editions or 4 editions in like what we'll get next or coming up. Like I'm sure they're gonna have another good show. Like they have yet to have a bad Survivor Series since they brought the brand split back in my opinion.
I think I'd say it's a really good show, especially if you don't watch weekly TV for WWE. If you choose to pay per view,
Yeah, they're brand supremacists. Like,
yeah.
I've been thinking at Joe Rich for the last few years. Like, it makes no sense. It's like the brand supremacists. Like, what do these people win? Do they get future title shots for having to choke down their pride and team with the person they're feuding with to get to the same destination, which are their respective titles on each show? No, they just want to rep the brand and invade each other on go home shows. Each other show, like, okay, whatever. Like, I can turn my brain off and just enjoy, the good wrestling sometimes. I can.
Yeah, and that's what Survivor Series is for me. You can just turn your brain off, enjoy the show. The shows are good. They just don't make, WWE universe sense. I'm using their term.
Oh, no.
It just doesn't make... Why do they care? Because they're paid to care. No, I can't think of any... There isn't any actual reason why they would care at all. Especially as it's been 2 weeks since they were on the other one, especially with the draft so close. But the shows are great. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I feel like 20 minutes in, should probably talk about Halloween Havoc.
NXT? Yeah.
yeah. We've mentioned the word NXT. That's good for us. Well done us. Anyway, the title was hoisted high above the ring as we got underway with his tables, ladders, and scares. Oh, I'm feeling like an SNL skit now because I'm repeating the gag so often. The title hoisted above the ring. I guess our first scare, LeRae pulled out a table. But there was a bag on top of it. Tonight, I just finished season 2 of Dexter. When we watching it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm stopping at season 4 because I watched it when it aired. And I know, stop after season 4 of Dexter. An amazing show.
That's where it fell off?
Yep, completely fell off. It ends with an amazing cliffhanger. Where you're like, well, I've got to see the next season. No, you don't. You don't. Leave it with the amazing cliffhanger. You don't have to do it. And yes, I know that's only halfway through the show because there's like 8 seasons. But no, stop at 4. It's amazing. Stop at 4. You'll love the show. You'll wonder why people why are you going down on it? It's like, it's fine. Hopefully season 9 is a bit better than the 4 out of 10 rated finale on IMDb. That is a bad finale.
They're rebooting it, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm rewatching it, because I was like, oh yeah, I've not watched that show in a while, yeah. It's not because of Dexter Loomis. Okay. That's not why no. Yeah, talk of me booting it, and then, I remember it being good. I'll probably stop at this point, because I know when to stop, but yeah. Anyway, so I saw the bag, and I'm like, I've been rewatching Dexter. Every bin bag like that I've seen recently is full of body parts. And then she turned it upside down. It actually was body parts. I was like, oh. And she reacted and did a little mime of a throw-up type thing on commentary, like, oh my god, what is this? What is this? And then they immediately kind of dropped that bit, and it's like, no, they are fake. And Io Shirai beats her with a hand, I think it was.
Right. Yes. Okay. So once it happened and Candice sold it like they were real, I was like, you got to get the hell out of here. And then Io grabbed one of the fake plastic hands and slapped Candice in the face with one of the fake hands. And I thought it was one of the funniest comedy spots I've seen this year. So I howled and I was like, okay, fine. But then Io drops it like she's disgusted as if it was actually a real hand she slapped her with. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. But whatever. I got the gag of she slapped somebody with another hand, which whatever. And I can move on from there.
And the tables themselves had body outlines drawn on them. It's like, were they murder tables? Why are there body outlines on them? Again, it's one of those where it's just camp wrestling thing. Yes. You're not meant to look into why would a line be put on there? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I can jokingly make comments on it, but I'm not generally going, what are they murder tables? It's a joke. I wasn't taking it that seriously, internet. No surprise though. Shirai and LeRae put on a fantastic TLC main event. Just call it TLC. Their awesome fluidity together worked just as well in this chaos. And towards the end as well, Io's moonsault crashing hard into a big pile of chairs. And a little thing as well to do with their fluidity. like a great example was when Candice started clambering up the ladder as Io was still setting it up. Just in terms of like their rapid pace together, that's an example of they didn't wait until that was done. They trust each other so much that she's still setting it up, and up goes Candice. Another more tad painful one was what James mentioned earlier, where it's that suplex brutally onto the upright chair. That looked amazing, and it got some innovation as well. And us New Japan watchers can mark out a little bit as we saw a dragon screw with a chair. It's just the innovation on that. I was like, oh, I loved that. Obviously, as a New Japan fan, I absolutely adored that. I thought it was great. And Tiger Feint was dodged, and a steel chair to the back led to I called it a twirly whirly net breaker because I can't actually remember what it's called, but twirly whirly net breaker through both ringside tables. Am I close with that name? It's like whirling net breaker. Or spinning net breaker.
I forgot what she calls it, but that used to be her finish.
Could be twirly whirly. That fit the old character.
Yeah, and also she in the street match she had with Mia earlier in the year, that's how she won the match.
Oh right, okay. I didn't realize it was callback. Oh,
it was off that table that was set up on the top rope in the corner, and then they landed on a pile of chairs.
Oh yes, yeah. That match was great. I remember that.
Yes, it was very fun, except for some of the. Okay, this year in 2020, I feel like any street fight that NXT has done, or quite honestly, given Hell in a Cell too, a bunch of WWE non-regular rules matches have had the fire extinguisher spot.
That's a point.
I feel like I've seen 5 of them, but whatever. They did it earlier in the Gargano match, in the opener. They did it at Hell in a Cell. They did it at that street fight. I'm doing it again while I'm digressing. Never mind. But just there's certain things that just okay, y'all have gone to the well too many times with this one particular thing. And now it's becoming a trope almost.
And in terms of the pattern and flow of this match, the one benefit of the Scream attack earlier in the show, or the Scream Lad attack, we decided it's Indy Hartwell. When she came out again, you've already seen the pattern. I was like, oh, that Scream person comes out, they attack the good guy, and then the heel climbs up and wins. Okay, cool. But because we've already seen it once in the night, it builds up the tension of, oh, is it going to happen again? And it played out to perfection here, where it doesn't play out like that. And Shotzi Blackheart, Devil Shotzi, fired in to stop the push of where she was pushing up Candice up the ladder with an electric chair drop onto the screaming-clad Indy Hartwell onto the pile of chairs. I'm saying it as facts now. It's just Indy. LeRae, out of it on top of the ladder, gave enough time for Io to recover and set up one of her own. A ladder of her own. Candice won out, set Shirai back down, but that gave her the opportunity to just push the Pixie's ladder over, and she crashed down hard through a huge ladder draped from the apron to the desk. And immediately we get the crappy sound mixing "This Is Awesome NXT," where it's just if you're gonna do it, at least mix it well. It's just so blatantly press the button, and now that audio file's finished. Hopefully Rich doesn't watch any of these shows. I'm assuming the mixing would drive him mad.
No. Rich doesn't watch NXT anymore. He hates them because they're competition for his beloved AEW, and I'm just like, dude, I just want to watch good wrestling, and they both do it most of the time, so I don't care. I just don't.
Yeah, I just imagine the sound, some of the sound mixing WWE have done, knowing what I know of Rich. Oh, surely that drives him insane. It's just so bad. It
only bothers me more because we're both music engineer guys, so it's I'm normally watching these shows with headphones on, and I can hear all this, what they used to call audio sweetening. It's still all there, especially these days with the pandemic and everything. They're better. These shows are normally better done when they're taped as opposed to live, and last night was live, so it's one of those things.
It's nowhere near as bad as my absolute peak sound mixing WWE, worst thing they've done in terms of sound mixing was
which one?
Michelle McCool and Layla. So this is a niche one, but I've remembered it ever since it happened because at the time I was doing music tech at school, and I got a D. I didn't do that well, but
it's hard, man. Yeah, it's hard to listen to my ear to figure this stuff out.
But it trained my ears forever. I can't just Like if it's up, then it's going to really annoy me. So it did something for me. It opened my ears. But with the Michelle McCool thing, it's where they were setting up her match with Layla, and on the live recording, she blatantly said, "Whoever loses leaves SmackDown." But obviously, between recording and going live, they changed their mind, and they changed it to WWE. So it's blatantly it's her saying it in the arena to a blatant studio recording of WWE. It's just so bad. It's like, and if you lose at the pay-per-view on Sunday, the loser leaves WWE. It's just so bad. It's absolutely awful. It's my absolute peak in terms of sound mixing in WWE.
I thought you were going to talk about when Roman Reigns came out for WrestleMania 32 against Triple H, how like all of a sudden like you just hear a wave of boos, and all of a sudden it just like goes from a certain level to like zero, and it's like y'all not even trying. I remember. It was so obvious he was getting the shit booed out of him.
I saw videos of people who were wrestling fans explaining to non-wrestling fans that, yeah, they've got a guy who comes out and the fans boo and they turn it down so it's silence so you can't hear the boos. And trying to explain that to a non-wrestling fan is like, that's ludicrous. I'm sorry, what? Yeah. That's another tangent.
Yes. Real quick, one last tangent. Yeah. My favorite thing to do is to talk about like the career arc of Roman Reigns with like my friends that grew up in Attitude Era, and then I tell them that's the Rock's cousin, and they're just like, why didn't they just do why didn't they just turn him into the Rock and turn him heel, and then like a year later try it again? And we're just like, this ain't the same Vince. And then like now they're headed there with like the Tribal Chief, and Tribal Chief is awesome, and like when Tribal Chief turns babyface, is going to be over like Rover, and it's like, we told y'all to do this like 4 years ago, man. Like what took y'all so long?
It's good to see it finally happen. But we're having to say, but the sentence I'm having to saying is good to see it finally happening. And then it's been 5 years, and it took a pandemic and him coming back on his terms for it to finally happen.
Right. Right. Like imagine like the leverage like Roman Reigns had on Vince. He's like, I'm not coming in unless you give me what I want. And he's like, fine. Please come keep the ratings from hemorrhaging, please.
No, it's so good to a point where, because SmackDown is the one show that I don't watch because there's so much wrestling, I had to drop something, and it's SmackDown. And yes, and Roman Reigns stuff has just got me like, it's so good. I feel like tuning in just to see it. And that's case in point that something is really working where someone like me, where I've just dropped SmackDown and it's putting me back in. But yeah, the crappy sound mixing took over the ending, but at least it fit the momentum. It wasn't mixed well, but the momentum took it. It wasn't like Hell in a Cell where they played This Is Awesome after a table spot where I was at my most tired. And that's when they played it. Not during Sasha Bailey, no. A random table spot in Drew Randy when I'm knackered and with a really slow-paced match. That's when they do it. And,
was that after Drew did the Shawn Michaels original table spot?
In the corner of the cell was I remember the location.
Oh, corner of the cell. Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was that one. It wasn't the big one. No, it was just a random. Okay. When I said a random table spot, I wasn't kidding. A random table spot. It was the one.
So random, I don't even remember it.
It was that random. But yeah, they also had a chance of NXT as well. Again, there's a minor point. He could have picked one of the audio clips from Full Sail, but they went with the full arena with the NXT chant. I'm just like, the thing that kind of distorted it as well, I was watching a screen of people and the guy I looked at was just nothing. He was just watching he was probably enjoying it, but he wasn't making any movement at all. It's just staring at the screen. And that visual with him, with the audio of This Is Awesome, is like of a full arena saying this, chanting NXT. It's like, just pick a Full Sail clip. You're in a tiny room. Why do you have to do that? Oh, it makes me wonder, like, if I went back and watched the Naughties SmackDowns, it's like, would the sound mixing just do me in, or would it be fine? The product normally takes over. Don't care.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing that stuff since like Hogan was getting backlash in the early '90s. So it's like, let's not, we like to joke now because we're far more cynical and there's more of us around to talk about these things. But like, this has been happening for far longer than Roman Reigns or John Cena. So
Yeah, it's a fair point. And in the pandemic, I'm pretty forgiving. I can take the piss. I can have a laugh about it. I can call it a bit bad. But I'm in reality, I'm perfectly forgiving, and I'm not. It's not a moan where there's actual like, oh my god, this is crap kind of thing. I'm not angry or anything.
Right.
I perfectly understand. Given everything that's happened, I'm not gonna go on about this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on about their fourth outbreak. I think third or fourth outbreak. Is
it only 4?
At least. I lose count. I've lost count now, and there's a reason that they're on the list of sites from Florida for potential areas like hotbeds, and they've had another outbreak, and people made the correlation. I won't say causation, but I will say correlation of Road Dogg calling it quits on Twitter, and a few hours later the news comes out of another outbreak. It's like correlations are made. Doesn't mean causation, but the correlations were there. Anyway, with those audio clips blasting out, because it's so blatantly audio clips. That's why I feel like I have to bring them up. It's just at least mix them so they don't feel like you're pressing a button and then it ends. Right. It's become so common to hear these because of live sports as well, where there's a random need where some people really can't watch a live sport without a crowd. Don't get that. I'm perfectly fine to watch an empty. I love hearing them communicate the teams. Like I'm really up because you don't normally unless you're there live. So being able to actually hear them, I'm really up for that. But no, you got to have your fake crowd like it's a PlayStation game. No. Anyway, he climbs up the ladder and pulls down the strap. In spite of the screen-clad human, Io Shirai retained the NXT Women's Championship in an amazing main event. And we've taken so many tangents in this match. I reckon.
Oh, yes, we have.
Yeah, let's just go to the other...
You haven't done it justice at all.
Really, really good match. We've gone on loads of tangents because there's like so many just little quirks with this show that just suddenly spat out discussion and random things. But it was a really good show and it had a fantastic main event. So I'll go through the card in order now. There aren't that many segments, so we can blast through it relatively quickly. But knowing us, we'll blast through the NXT stuff quickly.
We'll try our best.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So we opened the show with the North American Championship, and Shotzi was there to spin the wheel to make the deal. Damien Priest versus Johnny Gargano, and the answer is yes. In my notes, I wrote Punishment Martinez every time, and I had to go in and correct it. I had to do the Control F, replace, because I realised I did it for every single time. It's one of the things where I call myself, I'm such a nerd to put these indie names. Like, my memory's crap. It's just complete as NXT names go in my head. But Gargano coming out and slashing an inflatable pumpkin in his Jack from Nightmare Before Christmas outfit. I marked out for that. I was like, I get the reference you're making, Johnny. I'm all in for that. And of course, Punishment Martinez came out with his heavy... I'm not even pretending to remember his name. Came out to a heavy metal performance, bobbing his... I say bobbing his head. It's the... I've forgotten what it's called, but the head banging, that's it. It was head banging in the ring to a random bloke on a guitar. It's just... Yeah, again, Triple H written all... He must have loved that backstage. Absolutely adored it. So, yeah. But Franken-Shotzi spanned the wheel. She had multiple outfits. It started off as Franken-Shotzi. She spanned the wheel to make the deal, and it was a Devil's Playground match. I've not done it how she said it. Devil's Playground match. Is that okay, Shotzi? All right. She loved this. Surely, my absolute amazing night for her. But what is a Devil's Playground? It's no DQ. But spooky. So,
well, yeah. Falls count anywhere.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, falls count. Yes, that's a fair point. I'm underplaying it a bit. A falls count anywhere, no disqualification, no count outs, and but it was spooky, aka because the setting had spooky stuff scattered all over the place. There were quite a few pops, like Gargano and Priest more than happy to. The phrase I've realised I've written this on purpose. Whip out their weapons to bash battens and other euphemisms. I completely forgot I wrote that.
Johnny pulled out a kendo stick and because he thought he had the jump on Priest, and then Priest pulls out the nightstick they used to use to back when he was an official heel to beat up baby faces.
Yeah. Yes.
My description is far better than yours.
I must have been feeling a bit humorous this morning. Yeah, not 1 a.m. imp. Anyway, but after that they had a big steel steps fight, which took place during the break as well. Johnny with an awesome sliced bread onto the steel steps. Just escalated really well. Before himself later getting powered onto the announce desk. That was also awesome. Because Martinez got the strength and Johnny Gargano's amazing at selling, obviously. It just it made both of them make each other look amazing. It's such a great pairing, and a big old brawl all around the ringside, showing off all the spooky decoration. Gargano in one of my favourite spots of the night. Gargano found an upright coffin.
Don't tell me! God damn it! I knew you would like that so much.
Pure comedy, right up my street. So he finds an upright coffin, and assumedly he's conjuring evil deeds. But when he opened it, he got spooked by a skeleton, and I'm like, at first I'm like, of course. But because it's wrestling in 2020, of course he super kicks the skeleton and then closes the coffin. The reason I loved it is after writing that sentence, oh yes, it's 2020. Of course he super kicks it. What else was he going to do?
Also, that plays on the Gargano promo from last week where he spins the makeshift wheel and then it's a casket match and then he tells Candice, I don't want to be in a casket match with this vampire over here. And then, like, sure enough, there's a casket. He thinks he's being messed with, opens it, gets spooked, super kick. I'm just like, long, like, week to week goofy storytelling. Like, good for the effort, but for me, I just like, oh god, can I just see y'all beat each other up, please?
Little minor thing. The reason there was no NXT review last week is because I didn't watch it. So life went away. So for me, that was a off the cuff random thing with no build, and it worked quite well. But learning that they set that up, okay, it's a little bit different. But eventually, brawling themselves onto Shotzi's spooky stage. Flattening a garbage can by just walloping it over each other's back. I liked Wade Barrett pointing that out as well. Priest fought back and had Johnny all set up for the end, caught in the reckoning, and the end looking certain when random person in a Scream outfit attacks from behind. Gargano pops off the wheel with a spinning DDT. That was awesome. Before the Scream person gave him a tombstone to crush into Damien's face, sending the champ crashing inside out through a crypt. Not a sentence I thought I'd be typing. Wrestling in 2020. Gargano followed up with the pin, and we had ourselves a new North American champion. And Vic Reeves is one of the calls of the night. Isn't it ironic that the man who hates wheels used one for an assist? Okay. I was like, it's not your fault, Vic. They made you say that. It's so. You thought that was the line, did you? To sell it all? No.
Yeah.
But it was a great fun match, especially to kick off the show. Like an excellent way to just inject energy immediately. And the bump from Martinez looked amazing as he was just turned inside out, crashing through the crypt. Just destruction everywhere. It was a really fun match.
Yes, from 15 or 20 feet, as the commentators lied to us about. Yes,
I didn't hear that.
15 to 20 feet. I was like, dude, come on, just say 10 feet. A 10 feet fall on concrete is a hard fall. Like you don't have to. Whatever, it's fine. Yeah. Pro wrestling.
Like when I was at a climbing centre as a teenager, they did a thing. Was like, oh, do you want to let us drop you 10 feet? It's like, and all my friends did it, so as a teenager, I'm peer pressured into being dropped 10 feet. And they just...
Oh, man.
You're all in the harness and everything, and you're a bit more comfortable, because it was like towards the end of the session, and you've been doing rock climbing for a little bit, and then, they just get you, and then drop you. And it's 15 foot or so there's it's way more, or maybe 20 or something, so there's way more to go when they actually stop you, then they just slowly lower you. But, 10 feet is like enough to look... It's enough. You don't have to, WrestleMania capacity it. It's enough. It's fine. You don't have to inflate. Speaking of the commentators, Vic Reeves. What in the name of Waldo was he dressed up as? But it did pay off because Barrett popped everybody. Just immediately with the the class in The Simpsons turning around like, say the line. Say the line. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. It's just, yes, everybody. Of course, I wasn't on Twitter at the time, given when the show airs, but yeah, I'm assuming Twitter was just marking out. It's like, yes, he said the line. Yes. The fact when he was like, I'm dressed up as bad news Barrett. It's like, yes, I love that. I will say, Wade Barrett's been, for me, fantastic on commentary. In terms of...
Yeah.
It's the way that he picks out something in the match and then we'll just say why they're doing it, but it's the way he does it. And I guess the second best person on the roster with that is Samoa Joe. But of course Samoa Joe's got the raw kind of commentary hammering, just beating that out of him. So whenever he sneaks that in, it's like, thanks for that, Joe. And now back to the crap. But in NXT, Barrett gets to shine. And he's a perfect fit. It's one of those where I wouldn't really want him called up to the main roster because he'd just have to do that thing. But in NXT... he's great, especially with the kind of super indie feel sometimes, which faded away a little bit since it got to TV, but it's still a super indie essentially. Barrett fits perfectly for that. Speaking of moving away from super indie a bit, Cameron Grimes is freaking out over his awaiting horror. Yes, so I will say I wasn't a fan of the Cameron Grimes Dexter Lumis stuff, even though I love goofy stuff. I'll say I love comedy and goofy things in my wrestling. But slapstick, especially WWE slapstick, I've never found slapstick funny, and WWE's pretty much that. It's like I'll call it's an old humour, and or childish, whatever. Like I don't find it that funny. Like I can watch. Oh, I forgot. No, I was going to make a really niche cinema reference and realised nope, this is not the audience to do that with. But yeah, it's not my kind of humour. I don't really find it funny, but. That's what this kind of was for me in a way. I like Cameron Grimes' overselling, but I don't know if that's because I was a guy like Trevor Lee and I love him just having a whole malark. But I don't know if I legitimately enjoyed it, or I don't think I did. I did like William Regal when he's freaking out over stuff. I liked William Regal coming in just like an orderly, just like, why aren't you in the car park? Like, any minute there'll be a lovely van waiting for you. And just kind of pushes him out. It's like the person and the orderly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did like that part because he has annoyed Regal for months on end with his just exhausting Cameron Grimes to the top of the moon. So... like with all the shenanigans and the cheating or whatever else, like that like Regal has contempt for that man. So it's like, nah, go get in the windowless van and take your ass on and let Lumis like have his way with you. So like I enjoyed it because it's like, yeah, Regal is being a dick, but it's like, but Grimes deserves it entirely.
And I'll just bash through all the Cameron Grimes, Dexter Lumis stuff. After the next segment, we then went back to Cameron Grimes, and he's in the parking lot. I at least enjoyed Cameron Grimes, but that's even more dangerous. Why do I want to go to the parking lot? It's such a dangerous... I actually like how that's canon, how the parking lot legitimately... So we can thank Kenta for that. Yes. Like, for really playing up how dangerous the car park is. But...
And Legado del Fantasma, yeah.
Because there's mystery attacks that happen in that parking lot. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Gargano attacking Aleister Black. Like, it's a thing. Like, there's lots of history of people getting beat down backstage or beat down in the Full Sail parking lot or outside of a Full Sail event.
But
or NXT event.
Yeah, so in this next segment, Cameron Grimes gets in the van. Get in the van, Cameron. But Michael P.S. Hayes boogies on out. And the sound mixing is so amazing that I couldn't hear a word either of them was saying. And I heard that PSA's music was playing underneath. But I was like, yeah, I can't get a word of this. I did catch Grimes going at the end that I hate rednecks before getting into the van. But I didn't get any of the context for him saying that. So that's the segment. Did you catch anything?
I didn't catch anything. I think I saw P.S. Hayes or P.S. Hayes / Doc Hendricks, and I was just like, why is he here? Like, do you remember in your house when Gargano comes out of the house that is, allegedly like attached to the Full Sail entrance, and like he goes to adjust the the thermostat into 70, and then for some weird reason, I don't know why, there's a picture of Doc Hendricks, P.S. Hayes there, and so he turns up the temperature in honor of him to 69. And I was just like, okay, like I obviously like that is an insidery pop everybody that's backstage, Road Dogg and Sean and Hunter or whatever else, but it's like, okay, so moving to this is like, okay, I don't know why he's even here. I don't get it, but whatever. Like, it's just a sight gag. It's just like when P.S. Hayes, or not P.S. Hayes, but Brother Love was in the Climb the Corporate Ladder Money in the Bank earlier this year, where all of a sudden, like, Ray is running by the bathroom, stops for some reason to see who's coming out the bathroom, and is Pritchard. It's like, okay, whatever. That's really weird to make like one of the greatest baby faces in the history of the sport, like freak. This is like Wayne or morbid freak. I don't know. Whatever. I'm going too deep in the weeds, but it's like whatever. PSAs, whatever. Well,
for the match itself, I say match. Spooky Shotzi screamed at us that the next awaiting horror was coming up in the Haunted House of Terror. And Grimes immediately spooked on edge as he's walking in, and we see that Dexter Lumis is watching, perched up upon a tree. Cameron finds a referee in the house, and he goes to the referee. He's like, "Oh, a guy," and spooky scare. So that's the best way I can explain it, because it's one of those that I don't know. It was meant to be goofy. It's the best way I can put it, and it was goofy. So, yeah. And Dexter obviously strikes in that point. Grimes escapes into a bathroom and sees the shower of a woman showering. And immediately I'm like, have you not seen The Shining, Cameron? Surely this is just a super reference to it. And I will say, I got a giggle off the line of him saying, I'm feeling a little grimy myself. It's like, because his name. His name. It's his name. He said that as he took off his little jacket. I was just like, I hope that was because his name is Grimes and it's a really ucky pun. At least it's that. But yeah, and it's a contortion lass in the shower who contorts over backwards and scares him a bit. Grimes escaped out there into the grasp of a window awaiting Dexter. James, it all comes flooding back. I'm just okay. So let's not just like skim over what happened in the shower scene. He locks Loomis inside of inside a door or with the ref. Then Loomis kicks the door out. So then he goes to hide in the shower, and then he realizes that someone that he thinks for some reason is Loomis's, after seeing the silhouette of her, thinks is Loomis's sister. He says, "Oh, you're Loomis's sister, aren't you?" And then he's like, he wants to hop in the shower with her without consent, and I'm just like, what the fuck? So then he said, after in my mind I'm like, oh my god, what are they doing? And then all of a sudden he says the line, "Let's get grimy." So for me, like, your context of it being like, obviously this is a stupid variety show where nothing like that of the sort was actually going to happen, and like a shoe was never going to drop on him for him his assholery. Like, for me, or jackassery, for me it was just like, oh my god, that's so gross. That's so gross. Put him behind bars. So you can continue from there. I just can't deal with this goofiness. I just can't. More fight. It doesn't get better. More fighting, escaping, spooky spook contorting ladies in the room, climbing all over the furniture and what have you. Cameron Grimes escapes to the outside. I feel like they're doing like more close-in spooky stuff as well. It scared him to the outside. He chucked one of the contortionists over a wall, but the approaching crowd spooked him the F out, and he pelted it into the van. But Dexter's waiting at the wheel. And Johnny hates wheels, as we had explained to us earlier in the night. And Grimes runs away into the darkness. To be continued, and in brackets I immediately wrote, do we have to? Do we have to do it again?
Oh my god. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I was just like, I would have been fine if that was one and done, but at least it wasn't another cinematic. Because later on we saw Grimes just jogging back down the road, all the way back to the Capitol Wrestling Centre. He must have been going at a rapid pace. And then he cut to them back in the arena. He was falling over the ringside graveyard. Again, that's a sentence I'm typing in 2020. With the contortion ladies in chase. Loomis emerged behind him in the ring, laid the beat down, smoke everywhere, as Wade Barrett's like, where's this smoke coming from? As Dexter's zombies creep in, and the commentary hits an amazing high. Beth Phoenix going, Crimes hasn't got a brain, so he should be okay. And
that was a good line.
And again, just another commentator thing of Vic going, and a zombie just landed on Cameron Grimes. Wade Barrett, zombies illegal in this matchup. It's just... Oh, okay then. Loomis choked out Grimes till he was out cold and awkwardly stares as his music plays. And the zombies crawl on in. So that was an ending. The entire time I'm using it to catch up on my notes, and then it just didn't end, and other things were happening, and they were creeping all over Cameron Grimes, the creepy zombie people. Then Loomis starts to walk up the ramp. Also, I was like, wait, are these Loomis's creepy zombie people? I'm not meant to read too much into this. I know this probably won't be a thing after tonight. It's a Halloween Havoc thing. Don't read too much into it, Im. It's like, he's controlling the zombie people. This is so strange. But then he gets onto the ramp and the lights go dark. And then on the screen flashes something which I didn't note down.
Across his face it says "The End" in red.
It. That was
like
it.
Blood red.
Yeah. But yeah, and that was it. And I was like, okay then. Again, I've already stated earlier, I'm a fan of comedy, I'm a fan of goofy. It's a certain level of goofy. For me, this was slapstick goof, and wasn't my thing at all. But I did laugh during it. But I don't know if it was the places they wanted me to laugh. I was...
Right.
Yeah.
It's unintentionally funny.
Yeah. And again, most of my laughs would come from Wade Barrett, the way that he would just say a line. It's just like, he was great.
Because like, obviously those lines, like, it's the tone you hear it, and it's dripping with, like, yes, I am watching the same crap that you guys are watching right now. Like, that's exactly, like, he was in on the joke with us. So, yeah, man, like, at certain point, like, you'll probably end up being on the WWE year-end review for One Nation Radio and for 2020, and like, this has to be one of the worst. This has to be like one of the worst matches of the year. And like, with the Dexter Loomis character for One Nation Radio, we have an award called the Put Him in a Coffin Award. It is for basically like the worst, like some of the worst acts in pro wrestling. And people that need to either go away or start over by changing the gimmick to get out of whatever crap they're in the middle of doing. Dexter Loomis is going to be nominated, absolutely. It's none of it. He never has good matches. He doesn't cut promos. He just stares. That's what he does. He stares. Like, I don't know how that's supposed to put butts in seats. I don't know how that's supposed to get people to tune in. I don't know who that's supposed to inspire that's young or make people hate it. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know.
So I think I was saying the last time, 2 weeks ago on the NXT review, I think I was saying that Dexter Loomis, for me, I can't tell if he's an Elias type character which will work on the main roster but it just doesn't fit in NXT at all, or if he's just somebody I don't find that entertaining, therefore that's kind of zone out a bit. Plus I've seen, I guess, something slightly different. I've seen him do this character in TNA. So this isn't the first time. Right? Yeah. I mean, his debut where he was there in his John Cena jorts and shoes doing all flips and things, and then suddenly he's playing creepy bastard. It's like, I've seen his evolution. It's fair to say. But the creepy bastard stuff in TNA was, and I'm doing everything I can now to get this video demonetized. By saying words over and over again. But yeah, saying that, it was such a weird gimmick, and I felt like it kind of just got dropped a bit by TNA. I don't mean in the negative. I don't mean, oh, they dropped the ball. I mean, it's a bit odd, let's not do it in the end. But I would say this version is better than that. There's There's a bit,
Oh God.
bit less of a pedo vibe, which, yeah, that's good.
The mustache.
Yeah.
Was it the mustache?
Yeah, that and they did a scene with Ken Anderson where he was like in like his daughter's room looking at the toys or something. It was like what are you getting? It was the noughties, so you still saw that sort of thing now and then on wrestling characters and stuff. It wasn't as bad as it was in the early 2000s, but you still get weird stuff. It's like
Was it like Dustin Rhodes with the 7 thing in WCW?
It's not. Oh, I will say I had no idea that because when I was like instead of revising, I would watch WCW old because that was the era I never saw. So and I heard like massive things about it. So I watched Attitude Era and WCW Nitro instead of revising, and I didn't know. I was like, oh, I knew it was Dustin Rhodes. I was like, oh, it's Dustin Rhodes, and it's like, oh, this is quite an interesting gimmick. I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, I wonder where they're going with this. And as in the first promo was essentially the gimmick. It's Guy creeping out children's windows. And I was like, oh, I thought this would be the first building block to create a creepy, interesting character. But no, this is the character. And then as soon as he comes out, they drop it. Yes. Yeah. So, that was probably a wise move. The entrance... Yeah, I was like, at least the entrance is super memorable. You're not forgetting that entrance. Just gliding down. So, that is, speaking of Halloween Havoc, that is an entrance fit for the goofiness and nonsense of this kind of show. Oh, it was super memorable. I could only imagine what it would have been like watching at the time. It's just like, what the hell? It's just, yeah. Yeah. Me watching decades or so later, not got the same impact. It's like, oh, that was odd. Okay, then. Knowing goes back to WWE relatively not that long after, so I know he doesn't have a run. But yeah, interesting time. That was another tangent, but an interesting time. Anyway, I might as well bash out the remaining the backstage segment so we can end on Ripley Gonzalez. End on a good note. So,
okay.
We had Drake Maverick as Hulk Hogan, and he's doing the poses and things. And I got a giggle out of him talking to interviewer, and she said her name, so I should have noted it down. So it's like I swear this is the first time in NXT they've actually said her name, but I can't remember what she said. It was a Marvel character, Double M's. I can't remember what it was.
I almost gave you Miles Morales. So
it was Double M's like Miles.
No, that ain't it.
I just meant it was like alliterative, and it was like Double M's, right. But I can't remember what the name actually is. But
was it Natasha or something like that?
That doesn't feel right. I swear it was 2 M's. I don't know why. Anyway, so Miles Morales is there interviewing Drake Maverick, and he's in his Hulk Hogan thing, doing his things. Like, oh, come on, just play along. So I got a laugh out of that. Then a guy comes in dressed as Andre the Giant, and then someone's dressed as the Yeti, and I'm like, I'm assuming Twitter loved this. Yeah. They do the hug spot, the amazing hug spot. It's just peak content to this day for reviewers and everybody. It's amazing. Again, it's the calling him the Yeti. Why is he pronouncing it like that? What's wrong with it?
It's the Yeti!
The Yeti! And then his big finishing move. The big finishing move when he comes out, and I'd heard it described as just hugs him. It's like, it's a bit humpy, a bit grindy. It's a bit, it's a little bit off. But yeah, they did that spot on Drake Maverick, and then out comes Dexter Lumis as the Shockmaster, but he refuses to do the trip and fall. He refuses to fall over. It's like, I'm not doing that crap. And it's now written into canon that it's the mask, because Maverick put on the mask and immediately fell on his arse. It's just, it's the power of the mask, and if you can't handle it, if it's too much, then you're just going to fall over. Killian Dane is too strong, he's too big of a guy, he can take the mask. But no. Yes, have I missed out on match? I think I have. I've missed out 2 whole matches segments. I'll do the final. Yeah, the
Jake Atlas and Delgado, or sorry, and in Phantasma and Santos, and you also left out the promo with with McAfee and Lorcan and Birch and Pete Dunne.
Yeah, actually, I'll finish going through the outside segments, then I can bash through the final 3 matches
Okay.
I've not done. So we got Tommaso Ciampa talking about in a super serious promo just before the main event that he doesn't recognise NXT anymore. People aren't taking responsibility for themselves, and he links that into Velveteen Dream, where he says he has started all over him, but he can't get out of his own damn way. And he's saying that as Tommaso Ciampa heel, but you watch that and he's just like, I can't not link real life to that. I don't know if there's something more to that. Yeah. Or are they are they using real life to play on with the story, or are they like hitting it or something there? Yeah.
Nah, they're absolutely not, because what is he saying? Like, he can't get out of his own way. Well, the thing that's in his way is child diddling or trying to diddle child. Like, no, that's not. No, they're definitely not going that way. They're like, until he threw in the part about how young Velveteen Dream is. That promo at the beginning is like something you'd imagine Vince has had some speech about with. If you go back to the Austin podcast about, the millennials and the brass ring and all that kind of stuff. I think even mentioned a brass ring. But it's like, nothing is given, everything is earned, and these kids are talking about opportunities and this, that, and the third. Is like, Ciampa, you're like 38. Get I'm sorry, monetization. Get out of here. But
I've already broken it. It's dead. It's
my bad. Yeah. So, but it's like, like. Whatever, man. And then to turn that towards the heel is like, okay, whatever. Just I know they're headed towards Velveteen versus Ciampa again. So whatever. Like, I'm not interested in anything Velveteen Dream has to do with the show. I just don't.
Yeah, I think this is the first week I've written his name instead of and as in UGH. But it was a Ciampa promo, so I thought I'd bring it up, and it is it's that thing of...
It's a good promo, though. Good delivery and all that.
Oh, yeah, good promo, yeah. Always, with me and Velveteen Dream, I don't feel comfortable watching him, and as an entertainment show, I feel like that's the kind of most simple review I can give. It's like, I don't feel comfortable watching him, and you're continuing to put him on the show, so I'm going to continue to feel uncomfortable watching your show. That's not a good feeling. You don't want to give the viewer that every single week. So anyway, yes, the segments that we missed, or I missed, I put you in there. Don't put James in there with that. Pat McAfee and friends out. I don't know what his group's called, so I just call them Pat McAfee and friends. Out with the new NXT Tag Team Champions, Birch and Lorcan. We get our next piece in this new stable. Pat is so great of a promo. He is amazing. And he's
a very good promo.
He's in terms of guys who could just go onto the main roster today, just fluidly going from plugging something, promoting something, into calling someone a dickhead, just so fluidly. It's just like main roster now. He just get him promoting Survivor Series. He can just do it as the dickhead heel. It just works so well. And but I love the idea of him hiring the big lad, then hiring the geezers who took out the big lad. It's like, yeah, I'm all down for that. I like that idea. And Kyle O'Reilly emerged to stand up for the era because he was running them down. Before he gets in the ring, Pete Dunne returns to America. And I was like, well, that's a one-way trip right now, so that's some commitment. he's we are not taking flights from America, so he's not coming back. So that's quite he's made some commitment there. And he comes out with 2 chairs. So I'm immediately like, well, there's 2 scenarios here. One, it's a scenario we see over and over again. He's turning heel, or they just beat them up and it's just a standard thing. So at least it wasn't 100%, but I'm like, 2 chairs and he's coming out second. Right then. Immediately flashing back to Matt Hardy with the heel turn on Jeff Hardy at the Royal Rumble. It may have got me as a teenager. But the fact that after seeing it more than once, it's like, oh yes, okay, goes. But yeah, when Kyle stepped forward in the ring to kind of go at the group, Pete Dunne just smacked him in the back with the chair. Dunne turns and joins Big Bad Pat, and it's Pat's English chaps destroying Kyle O'Reilly afterwards as well. So Pat and his English friends just created a whole group, and of course Ridge Holland as well. He was also an English dude.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of a theme here. Pat McAfee talking for all the English people because we've got weird accents, therefore we can't really do it right for them. What did you make of Pete Dunne's heel turn?
Sorry?
What did you make of Pete Dunne's heel turn?
Yeah. Okay, so he comes out with the chairs, and I was in the same thing as you. Was like, somebody's turning heel here, where there's going to be Dunne probably, or it's going to be Kyle O'Reilly, because there's still plausibility that like somebody until the beatdown happened, that like everybody aside from Adam Cole could be somebody that eventually turns on Adam Cole. Obviously not going to be Kyle O'Reilly now because he's laid him out, unless they're going to do the aces and eights nonsense, right? So that still leaves potential for Roddy or Fish to turn, because no one saw them actually get injured. They were just out backstage. So anyway, you get Pete Dunne. It makes perfect sense that he hates Undisputed, considering Roddy turned on him at a takeover years ago, back I think 2018. So I think that was New Orleans actually. So it's like he's always had beef with them. He pinned, him and Ricochet double pinned Adam Cole at later that year at War Games. Like, they never had a resolution. It made no sense for Pete Dunne to make a save for Kyle O'Reilly because he's always hated his guts. So like, it made sense. It's like, yeah, screw you guys. I think I came out here to help you. Screw you guys. So I'm okay with it. Like, I really like Pete Dunne as a especially his run as the NXT North American UK champion. I thought he was like this noble fighter that like had these wars with everybody and like gave everybody his best shots, and you had to like you had to bring more than just a kitchen sink to put him away like Walter did. But it's kind of funny that the Broserweight thing got dismantled because of the pandemic and Riddle going with the main roster, and like the Me Too movement happened, and like Pete Dunne's now a heel on TV and Riddle's still a babyface. Like, that is, let alone Riddle even being on TV, but it's just like that's rich. But whatever. Like, Dunne's back. Like, they need him, and he's a heavy hitter.
Yeah, and it gives he legitimizes the group as well, just because he's that caliber of competitor. Yeah, as you can tell, my voice is going. So you map this up relatively quickly. Jake Atlas versus Santos Escobar, Legado del Fantasma, all with their faces half skull painted. It was an awesome visual. Atlas's LGB DDT still amazing. Don't know what they're not calling it that. I think they're just calling it the cartwheel DDT. It's like, oh. Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah. We're not supposed to. Yeah, nobody on NXT is supposed to know he's actually gay.
It's
a weird thing with him.
It's really weird that, but it's still an absolutely amazing move. Hitting awesome stride against the champion as well. The numbers game decided it all though. Somewhat fighting them off. Alice was doing a decent job, but he couldn't look over both of his shoulders, and Mendoza headbutts him with the mask on back into the ring, and 1, 2, 3, 4 Escobar to pick up the win. So yeah.
No. You have to let people know that the mask is loaded. You can't just say he put a mask on your head, but like the mask is loaded, so he headbutts him with an illegal thing. Like, he made me sound so lame.
He summons luchador power. Power's in it.
Another thing that was also weird was he's been tagging or fighting against Legado del Fantasma with Swerve and Adonis, and then like neither one of them were there to make a save or anything. He was out on his own, and he just got screwed over. It's like, damn. All right.
Yeah, poor Atlas. So yeah. Santos Escobar again. He's a great champion, but of what division? And the people kind of just appearing in it are like kind of thrown in a little bit. And Swerve has had some time with him, but again, it's like, but there's no division, so this doesn't really go in. I can say I love the group with Santos Escobar. It's NXT, so I'm fine with it. I
really do like the group,
yeah, because it's NXT. I'm not going to complain too much if a group that is great and is working and is improving doesn't necessarily have the best storyline or something coming out of it if the group is working, because it's NXT at the end of the day. But there's no division for him to rule over. So, but,
I mean,
yeah.
I think I don't watch 205 Live, so I don't know what he's doing.
That's
so I can't speak to that. I just don't. I don't watch NXT or not NXT, but 205 Live, so I couldn't tell you what he's doing on 205 Live.
Yeah.
Right.
Just realised as well, Ember Moon. I've moved on. I decided. Ember Moon put on a promo for her match with Dakota Kai, which I think was taking place next week, and decent promo for Ember Moon. Enjoyed her return, and I like the. She's come back with fire, but it's not the same fire. There's something else to it, and I like that. It's a little bit different. Then we can finally talk about Big Hoss. NXT's Hossers laying fists and stomping mud holes. Rub your hands. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez. Stiff clotheslines and knocking no one. Escalating up to power bombs all over. It's like, this is our jam. This is what we've been marking out over in the G1 Climax for ages. Is you build them up, and eventually the two big Hossers just collide into each other. It's like, it's just a Vince McMahon. It's like, oh yes, and it's. I think I said it before that with me branching out of WWE and people who only watch WWE is quite often the criticisation of, oh, I don't want to watch some flippy guys just doing some random crap. And then me going, I'm watching Walter Keith Lee chop the crap out of each other. It's like, this is and of course we're raving like over Ishii versus Shingo. Like, whoa, two big lads. Just, the phrase I use of big lads doing big lad wrestling. It's like, oh, yes. And it's the type of thing that, because of the era we're in, it stands out a bit more. Like, when everybody wrestles like this, it doesn't quite have the same impact. But today, with the kind of style that's a bit more popular, when two big Hossers meet and you build it up like NXT have, it feels like a big deal. And you really get hyped for seeing them just throw a clothesline at each other and no-sell it. It's like, they're like, yes, that's my jam, yes. And Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley had an amazing match in that style. Two big lasses going on at it. And you're smiling quite a lot, James. So I'm assuming you like this match.
I love this match. I love this match. Like, I was like, the second that the direction seemed that Rhea was headed towards Raquel, I was like, this is going to be good because, one, like, just for those that don't, know this, like, they're really close as friends in the PC and, away from off screen. So it's like, you know what the magic sauce is for a lot of these matchups historically. Like, you tend to wrestle better with your friends because there's a level of trust there, and with the level of trust equals a lot of times you hit each other harder because you're not worried about a receipt because it's coming from someone that loves you, right? So like, they went in there and they beat the crap out of each other, and it was very fun. Like, with the clotheslines, some of the gut punches that Rhea was throwing. Like, there was a spot where there were rainmakers, and like, Raquel was no-selling Rhea's rainmakers, and there was a test of strength and, trying to whip somebody to the corner, and Raquel just like no-selling it, and seeing Rhea react to it, it was like, oh crap, she's as stronger than me. I've never really dealt with that before. And then you seeing how she goes from there to try to deal with that. They both end up injuring their bag at parts, or selling their bags at part during the match. Like, it had a lot of just cool, nifty, or like simple stuff in it that all fit together very, very well. Like, I love this match. This match could have fit right in with watching a Stardom Grand Prix match from back in August or September. So I thought they did a really good job for especially for someone that with the experience level of Raquel. Like, that kind of helps. Is like simple, basic meat and potatoes, like keyword potatoes, when you're kind of new to this. Like, she's big and strong. Like, use your physicality too. Like, this is the match that I wanted out of Statlander and Nyla Rose back at whatever pay-per-view that was back in. I think that was Revolution. I think it was Revolution. And instead, I got a bunch of flippy stuff that didn't exactly work, and one of them almost died. So I really enjoyed this match, and I just really did. Like, I can see the smile on my face. Like, they beat the crap out of each other. It was great. It was great.
Get up Big E's talk again.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, two big hustlers. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, people talk about their 25-minute matches. Not me. I want big people slapping meat.
And like we got power bombs into the plexiglass as well. Ripley kicking out of Gonzalez's power before kneeing the girl in the face. It was stiff as hell shots. Big Lass doing big lass wrestling. The strength and ability to dig deep for both women really put over, and that's something we praise Japanese wrestling for, especially in the tournaments we've just seen. Both Stardom and New Japan. It's a theme you see where in a match like this, both of the competitors really get put over as having done. They can both dig deep. It's not the hero just digging deep. It's both of them. They both do it, and that's why this match just reminded me. That's why I keep referencing Japan. This match was a great example of what we rave about. In the end, Ripley's athleticism was the deciding factor. I like that too. The spinning Gonzalez's attempt of a one-arm powerbomb into a head scissors before crashing her back down slightly later with the Riptide for the win. And it's like, again, Big Lass versus Big Lass, but Rhea Ripley uses her athleticism that she has got, and that was something that Gonzalez didn't have in her wallet. I don't know what I'm saying.
Toolbox, repertoire.
Yeah, she didn't have that in her back belt. So that's that done. And she gets taken out by the Riptide. Amazing match. And it's one of those where if the audio had come in for This Is Awesome, it would have felt right. Because it actually built to it. But yeah, absolutely amazing match. And of course, it's great to end one of these reviews on a major positive as well. To be fair, there's only like one negative way to take from this, really, and it was the Cameron Grimes stuff. But if you like slapstick, goofy things, you'll love that. Some people, I've not checked Twitter, but I'm assuming some people absolutely did love it. It was goofy nonsense right up their street. For me, I like my goofy stuff, but when it turns to nonsense and it's a bit slapsticky, maybe not. Maybe not that much. Even though I love doing Cameron Grimes' voice. It's one of the few delights I can have, impressions-wise. So, yeah. Anyway, also, we can be all smiles and things, because, of course, as I've said, I'm going back into lockdown, as in it's now. Now I'm back in, which kind of, obviously, it's not a great feeling at the moment. And, of course, James has got all the stress of America this coming week. So, fingers crossed, I guess, for everything. I guess I won't limit it to anything in particular. Just good luck in life, I guess. Yes. Looking in from the outside, I can assess. No matter which one wins, is a bit of a One might be long term, and the other short term. It's not. It's not a great situation. I mean, in my country, the guy who ran against the current leader, Boris, the guy who ran against him, has just been kicked out of his party for anti-Semitism. So, it's not that great over here. We're not.
I did not know that.
Well, there was massive reports that there was an issue with anti-Semitism in the party, and people were coming out and leaks were happening. And they said, well, we put things in place to make sure that doesn't think. And now the report from because the one thing about our country is there are lots of checks and balances or groups in power. As in,
and you stick to them.
Yeah.
And you stick to them.
Yeah. So, as in, it's one benefit of the Queen as well, where there is that division of power, I think is the phrase, which I look at America, it's like, you're looking at, if one bad person gets elected, then you're in massive trouble, because the checks and balances aren't there, or at least aren't utilised or whatever. But yeah, extremely held to account in this country as well. And I mean, even if it's still like America, where things get brushed off, and you're like, that still happens. But yeah, so there's a massive reports about anti-Semitism in the party, and now the reports come out and said the efforts you made weren't particularly great, didn't really do anything, it wasn't enough. But you go on Twitter, you'd think you'd be crazy to vote for anyone other than Labour. But no, that's the reason. It's one of the reasons I didn't vote for them. And I didn't vote Conservative either. There's a bit of a, if you didn't vote for one, that means, you vote for the other, you dirty prick. It's like, well, no, I've voted for 4 different parties in 4 different elections. I am a swing state. I am not somebody that, yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so how big are This is actually a question that's better served for off air, so I'll ask you off air instead of one of them. So but I say how big are like the third part or the alternative parties in the political structure of the UK? It's like let's I thought this is a wrestling podcast, so I'll ask you later.
Yeah, I think it's better if I sign off before having a massive chat about how that works. Anyway, thank you for listening to this with our multiple tangents and whatever. Also, do I have to put a comment saying show starts at 20 minutes? Because all the other stuff we went on about. I will be back on... there's no other shows. I'll be back on Tuesday for the Raw review. I am live on Twitch tomorrow from 6pm GMT. I think I'm playing Fall Guys. Might be joined from Ash of the Wrestling Shorts YouTube channel. Might be joined by somebody else. I don't know at this point in time. But I'm definitely playing Fall Guys on Twitch at The Implications with 2 S's. Because with 1 S was taken. But anyway, I'll be live tomorrow night with that. I'll be back with a Raw review on Tuesday. I'll be back. I think Full Gear is next Saturday. So next week's crazy in terms of the amount of stuff. Forgot the date right.
It's thin. It's thin.
Yeah, just triple check the date. So really looking forward to that. That's an absolutely solid card. So that'll be fun. But yes, I'll be back 3 times next week to get your massive fill of me. It's after being on 3 times this week because of Hell in a Cell. So it doesn't stop. The wheel keeps spinning. Spin the wheel. No, I won't continue that analogy. Anyway, I'm meant to be signing off and I'm just going, I can make that reference. No, just sign off, Matt. So you can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. You can follow James at JamesBoyd80. 7. That's it. I've got it on my screen, but it's behind a window and it's really small. So I'm squinting my eyes to read it. Anyway, I think I've remembered it off by heart once, so that might happen again, maybe. Anyway.
Getting close.
I'm getting close. But James, do you want to plug all of your stuff that you've got to plug?
You can find... I'm part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have a bunch of different podcasts similar to a lot of the stuff you see Imp does. So if you're, a wrestling junkie, you go ahead and check that out. You can find us on Twitter at Social Suplex. I am on one of the shows called One Nation Radio. You can check us out at One Nation Radio on Twitter. That's what all I got.
And I've already plugged when I'm going to be back as well. No columns to plug this week. I'm taking a bit of time to recover. As you was saying when I was guesting on a Twitch channel last week, I was just like, I'm in G1 recovery mode. Like I've gone into sleep mode. I was just absolutely exhausted. It's just like just constantly like getting ulcers in my mouth and just worn down, just completely. It's just like seriously, I was just mentally gone. So I just tuned out. No NXT. It's just like, my God, there's G1 complete gone to sleep. And but it's all worth it because the G1 is an absolutely amazing time with some incredible wrestling. And I think I've still got the last column pinned on my Twitter page as well. If you want to go and read the column from myself and Sir Sam, which I love doing those columns. That's great. Anyway, suddenly remembered, Best of the Super Juniors is just around the corner. I've not figured out how I'm covering that. Bloody hell. November. Big time.
Isn't it also tied in with Tag League too?
Yes, it is as well. Yes, it is, yeah. Yeah, so...
I'm not watching Tag League. You enjoy that, but I'll watch Best Super Juniors.
I reckon a really smart idea is to enthusiastically for me to go to Jeremy. He's like, do you want to cover the shows together? It's like, well, like, do you want to like split the show in half and like maybe like you do the tag and I do best? I feel like that's a bit mean to do it like that. I don't think he'll take me up on that. It's like, hey, do you want to just cover the tag side? Maybe, yeah.
I hope that he is watching this unbeknownst to us, and he's like, all right, I'll wait for him to ask me, and I'm gonna tell him no. Yeah. I'll see. I'll find out when I do hit him up about covering it. I was like, see if he actually heard this. I was like, I'm not accepting that offer. No. Anyway, so I'll be back on Tuesday. With that, I say thank you for listening. Thank you to liking, subscribing. If it's on YouTube, click the bell and whatever your stuff you do there as well. On iTunes, whatever the 5-star rating, the reviews, whatever, all of that helps us immensely get this show out there and whatever too.
On RedCircle, there's also if you're listening on the podcast version, there you can donate directly to LOP Radio as well. I need to change the name because we're no longer LOP. We can now tell people what the site's called without them going, "Is that a sex thing?" No, it's wrestling headlines. So, so I'll be back on Tuesday next week, and you hear James on. Is it Sunday? One Nation Radio drops.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I remembered.
Unless there's a WWE pay-per-view on a Sunday or a takeover, and then we'll release on a Monday.
Right. So check out One Nation Radio on Sunday. And with that, I say thank you for listening. I bid you adieu. Adios. And James bids you
goodbye.
I love in the editing. There's always a massive gap. I'm just like, do I edit it out or do I leave the awkward pause because I think it's quite funny? So, anyway, adios.